think when I was 18, I had the kind of love and the kind of passion that I know some people don't experience in their entire life, and I know I don't want that anymore. I wouldn't want something like that back. It was horrible. I mean, it made me fucking jealous and anxious and mean sometimes, and I just felt awful, like constantly. It was so fucking sickening almost. And I mean, I like to settle for what I have now, which is not crazy and not, you know, over the top. And I know some people say that, well, you're not really in love, that's not really love, you have to be a bit crazy. So, but I really don't want that. I don't romanticize that. It was
I can't imagine life without that, to tell you the truth. I mean, as bad as it was, I mean, it's just, that's the game. You know, I think of the women I've loved, and it's just like, yeah, it was such a waste of emotion. You know, I spent years loving women who, you know, barely knew my name. You know, but yeah, just the idea of working that out. And like I said, I had a taste of it for 6 months of my life. I felt pretty like I was there, and you know, I knew it wasn't something you could sustain. But at that moment, I was just, you know, it was summer and everything was working and it was really nice, and I just didn't think about it until it ended. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'd still, you know, it really, that was a big loss for me, I guess is all I'm saying. But you have to get a better microphone or a better brain.
You fucking Elvis person looking at. Oh, he's just a little kid.
Brett Keens or something.
You know, Gary, I'm kind of on that verge with this love thing too. You know, because because like you, I've done the love that's been like a fucking disaster, and then I did the love that was like just the ultimate. There was nothing that was more ultimate than that. And I am kind of at the age right now where it doesn't matter as much anymore, is I think the best way to put it.
I mean, look, I mean, people can live, you know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, I figure you got your health and you got all this other stuff, but yeah, I mean, I'm generally speaking just not, you know, I'm just not running on all cylinders. So life is really, you know, and my life is just kind of shitty. I mean, it's just not a great life. I'm still here, so whatever. I mean, I'm just, you know. Yeah, whatever. I'm still here until I'm not. I had a gun. Because I know a gun, if I had a gun, I would be dead. Because there's those moments, you know, when you really are strong enough to say, yeah, get the fuck out. And if all you do is pull a trigger, you know, it's just too... Hannibal, yes, the fat Hannibal. Russian roulette with a gun that has all 6 chambers are full. Yeah, nobody misses. Even more perfect. I hate to admit that I'd actually like to have a war, just so I really feel like, I really feel like dying in a war now. I really feel like, yeah, just give me my sword and my pitchfork, give me whatever the fuck I have as a weapon, and point me in the right direction, and yeah, I'll go screaming down the field, charging the other assholes, and stick a pitchfork in their nuts. I just feel like doing that.
And the thing is, Gary, there's a lot of people who don't care about their nuts. They just don't care. They would love it.
Well, it's all the same, yeah. It's like going sailing on the Riviera. It's all the same to them.
I never laughed my ass off so hard when I heard that video. It's like, well, I really wouldn't mind my nuts in a fight. What the fuck?
It's funny. I mean, my whole life I've really been appalled at the idea of war. I mean, war's always been very revolting to me. And it's just kind of funny that I'm in this position now where I can, but especially medieval war. When I thought about the old wars they had, like where they stood across from each other with muskets and just said, okay, we're going to shoot at you and then you shoot at us and we'll shoot at you and you shoot at us. I mean, that just seemed insane to me. And then this whole idea that you would actually fight with somebody with broadswords and shit, it's like, oh, fuck you. I mean, that's insane. But yeah, I get it now. All of a sudden I get it. It's like, yeah, if you just don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? If you just literally just don't give a shit. You just don't care. Now I understand what those guys were doing. They were basically just saying, I don't give a fuck. Okay, I live in a dirty, shitty house. I got a naggy fucking bitch wife. My kids are assholes. Fuck, yeah, I might as well go charge those assholes to see what the fuck happens. Maybe I can win some money. I mean, it's like gambling. It's like going to Las Vegas for them, right? I mean, that's basically what war was, right? If you win, you got the goodies. And if you lose, you're dead.
Hey, Gary, what's up?
Hey, Dospook guy. I don't know. You got a weird name. No, I actually like this one. I don't like your clown paintings much, but I like this one.
Thanks. Yeah, I didn't know how much of it showed up in that video, but coming right along. Appreciate it.
They were pretty fast too. I mean, from outline to painting, it's pretty quick. 3 or 4 days, right? 3 days. It's pretty good work.
Yeah, I'm on amphetamines, pushing through, getting.
I was going to make a response video to you. I just haven't got. I had this whole list of there's so many people in line ahead of you. I do want to answer you. I mean, the rest of your video was just totally whacked. I didn't get any of it, but I did get that you were talking about the asymmetry shit. And I don't think it's that complicated, right? I mean, you keep talking like you can't see the invisible wases that weren't, that could have been, maybe was, once were. I'm just saying it's not that complicated, right? I mean, there will be people, and there's people who won't be. Right? I mean, like I could prevent some. Like my kids don't exist, right? They will not exist, right? But they certainly could have been. And they're not sitting somewhere going, Daddy, save me, Daddy, please, Daddy, save me, right? They're not in any kind of harm. They're not doing any bad time in prison. There's just no negative whatsoever. And if I had them, what would they be subjected to? This. You know what the real world is, okay? I mean, the real world is you're going to be some jackass serving hamburgers at McDonald's or something. You're going to have some shit, lame-ass, jackass job. You'd be calling people trying to steal their money or some other kind of bullshit. I mean, what the fuck? Why bother imposing that on somebody?
Just for the heck of it. It's all about keeping it going, man.
Now, whatever. That makes a hell of a lot of sense. Mexican fuckwit.
Well, my point in the video was that Benatar took a lot of shit for the non-identity problem itself, and it's backed up. When people attack him, then he came back with another argument called the contrapositive, and that would be based on you're saying my kids, you're pointing to a nonfiction every time you say my kids. You're always, anytime you're pointing to a pre-existence, it's always a fiction. And so when you give attributes or you give sensation to that or you give anything, the whole idea is that the pointing to it is the problem, because then you're automatically using imagination or you're just pointing to the words. And so I'm trying to point out that whether the point
is they're both the same at the point you're putting. Pointing at them. We're
build the registry and write out their names and catalog them for me, because if you're going to point to your kids that never were, then why not?
I could find every person who's been persuaded by an argument not to have a kid, and I could say, okay, here we've changed their decision, we've changed their life, their destiny, because now they appreciate that. Okay, why do I want? I do that because I see the changed, because people change their perspective. And all we're arguing about is what the right perspective is. So the perspective that prevents the kid from being born, I would argue, is the one that has all the logical merit. The one that doesn't prevent the kid from being born is the one that has no logical merit.
I would say that it doesn't matter about the logical merit of it. As a matter of fact, that's my point, is that it's not founded in the logic. It's just found, like when you say the future, you're talking about a particular imagined future, a possible future that could have kids or could not have kids. But pointing to that future is also pointing to a fiction, because there's only one. There's only one now. There's only one future. They will have kids or they won't have kids. But I'm just trying to point to where the logic of the logical argument breaks down, because it's not
the logic of the logical argument. I love your fucking wordage. Make a fucking point, Gary. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Look, but people are more polite. It's okay. Really, you shouldn't be. If it was 2 weeks ago, I wouldn't have been polite at all. But yeah, look, the point is there'd be no point in me speaking. There'd be no point in having opinions, expressing opinions, sharing opinions, if we're going to discount their impact. The point is to have an impact. The point is you're saying this is right and this is wrong for a reason. Now you're just going back to this nihilist mumbo-jumbo where, okay, we'll just pretend it doesn't matter how it all turns out. It doesn't matter if 10 million Jews die in concentration camps or 50 million Jews. Who the fuck cares? No, it does matter. And by actions and by words, we change what happens in the future. That's what we're arguing about. So, of course, the argument gains integrity because it will impact the future. Yes, we don't know explicitly what the future will be. We don't know. If we did know, then we would know exactly what we're supposed to say and exactly what script we're supposed to read. But we don't know any of that. We're fighting over what the script should be, right? That's basically what we're talking about. What role should we each play? Should I be a frog or should I be a Tyrannosaurus? What should I be? And that's what we're arguing about. I'm arguing to other people, this is what you should be or this is what you shouldn't be. And this is the logical argument. So how am I breaking some sort of rule by doing that?
I agree with you. Like everybody's, well, first of all, you make one point and, a few topics back, you're like, all of a sudden you get the nihilism, you get the fight one-on-one, sword to sword with somebody else. When you don't, for this argument, then you shift over to, I don't understand nihilism, we're going to talk about the should, so I'm just pointing that out. And then as far as the imagining, right, like we can always imagine the future, we can always point to a fiction, and say this is what should be and this is what I want and this is so forth and so on. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that putting the words together and saying the argument, like it's okay to say I have an argument, but then when you say I have a logical argument, that's when I got detailed, and I'm like, okay, there's a limit to the logical argument where it will intrinsically have a problem because it's going to start referencing itself. So at that point, that's the limit of where it's no longer a logical argument. It's just a matter of should, that you view the world should be this way. And that's the whole thing. Like, I see there's overpopulation. I see there's resource problems. But I don't agree that the universe is a shit nest. Okay.
But that's because you don't agree, because you don't see a certain perception. You're missing the boat, so to speak. I mean, if I convinced you, all right, through some sort of proof, that insects feel incredible pain and suffering, okay, that they're actually more sentient than human beings are, then maybe your perspective on life would change, and you'd say, holy shit, this experiment is outrageous. You mean every insect in a chrysalis, where their nuts are going where their head was and their eyes are going where their ass was, you mean they're feeling all of that and suffering and being tortured, and that's just unacceptable, it's too sloppy. I mean, all I have to do is change the scenario a little bit and maybe you get it, okay? If we have a World War III and 3 billion people die horribly, maybe you would have a different perspective and say, okay, yeah, this does look like a failed experiment. All right, yeah, the cost is too high. It's just unacceptable. Maybe there's a point where it gets unacceptable for you. What I'm saying is, to me, it was unacceptable. Paying 50 cents for this thing is paying too much. All right, you're willing to pay a Lamborghini price, and I'm saying 50 cents is too much. All right, by my logic, by my perception, by my equation of looking at what we accomplish and what we pay. All right, I'm convinced that we have absolutely nothing to do here but clean up our own shit. Okay, we shit in the living room, and then we clean up half of it, and we say, look, I cleaned up half of it, isn't that cool? I cleaned up half the shit. Well, you shit the shit, you dumb shit. I mean, what the fuck? You did not accomplish anything. You cleaned up your own fucking shit, you stupid shitter.
Okay, well, as far as look, you can apply your cannibalism argument to your shit, because we got flies that are eating the shit. If it's all an internal mechanism, if everything is the cannibalism Earth, aka cannibalistic planet, then it's eating itself. And yeah, there's a mess, but all of that mess, what you're calling a mess, is also defined by humans. And as far as the insects are concerned, that's like the same argument that is made by Pirro and was initially made by me of what does it mean if you were to reference emotion or feeling or anything to plants, in its absurdity. It's like you said, the paradigm shift. And then this comes down to your friend from, I don't know, the blonde woman that was just here.
again. Hello, everybody. Thanks for listening. Just playing the show and doing a painting. So, I appreciate you watching. Any comments about all this, feel free to jump in. I think it's a fun turn of the tongue in text and posture and a lot of stuff.
There's no one will have lesser, and their day's screwed. And I'm just chalked.
I'm so mega up on pain meds right now. I can't even tell you.
It up to live in a perspective that I can empathize with. Like, I hear what you're saying, right? I feel if I was static in that perception, I would feel like shit. But I'm not static in that perception. I'm more like the way I get. Okay, Zomai just remember her name. So the way she described her friend is more typical of how it is I live my life.
Just lost the brush. Lost the brush I was using.
This guy, he's all caught up in the whole game. But that's all you're describing to me.
Very grounded man you are. Yip, yip, yip. Where did it go? Okay, never mind.
This is just circular Frankenstein. You'd sit there in bronzes, booties, and say, oh, look how cool Frankenstein is, because you're going to just accept it. I'm saying to you that this is something worth evaluating. It was made by a DNA molecule, and I'm saying, why don't we test this recipe and see whether it's poisonous or not? I mean, why the fuck are we eating this shit without fucking analyzing this shit?
Gary's an agent of the Smith program. Doesn't even know it. Okay, Joseph Smith program. What? Beautiful program.
And it will you just game. I mean, and you bring up, yeah, it's a DNA molecule. I mean, what happens if we bred out all the people that had a negative perception? Or what happens if there's a whole breed of people thinking about a fiction that haven't been born yet, that are going to see the world a whole lot worse than you ever conceived it, right? And it might take something like that to keep getting that point down to saying, let's blow up the world, let's end all this shit. But it doesn't mean that people, that this notion that you're separating psychology from philosophy and that you've got a monopoly on the philosophy is the problem, because it's like, okay, yeah, get people to empathize with it, right? We need that just in order to get reduction in population or to get a handle on it. But it's this whole idea of saying that it is the case, and just a couple topics back, I also heard you say, I guess it just kind of is the way that it is. And I typed out, if you scroll up, it just sounds like you're saying it is what it is, and you had given me so much shit for that. And so,
don't do this bullshit, okay? Those are two separate conversations, one about my emotional life and one about a philosophical conversation, right? I mean, those are two different things. So again, this is pollution. This is I was really distinct and I was really clear in pointing out this is something I personally feel. I wasn't making a fucking philosophical argument that there's something glorious about war. I was just saying that me personally am feeling quite futile in my existence and might enjoy a nice last hurrah on a bloody battlefield because I could just vent the last bit of my anger and get the fuck out of this shithole.
Well, okay. Personally, I think that I honestly, I don't get why. I mean, you might not believe in love and want to chase after it, or you had other hopes for other things, but you also have the possibility of uprooting. And I mean, even the subscribers and the followers you have, God, you can pick more from more women and invite them and try to rebuild a love connection or something that is so much more beautiful for your own psychology than fighting.
I mean, come on! What the hell is that? Yeah, like I'm gonna go near another woman. Oh, man. Danger, 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 Will Robinson, danger. Well, that we separate conversations about what we need personally and emotionally and what we feel as men or what we feel as women and all that stuff is interesting conversation that goes in one pile. And then when you're going to talk about what life is and what the maze game is and you're going to climb out of it and you're going to look around and you're going to talk about what the truth is of our stupid manipulated existence, that's another conversation. You're feeding the two of them into each other, and I just don't think that's fair because I think I'm pretty clear when I'm talking about me personally and when I'm talking about philosophical argumentation.
Okay, well, and look, people parse the world up in a lot of different ways. And even the lines that you draw of what the difference are, people in your own camp, you get in little tidbits about whether or not the line's a little bit an inch this way or an inch that way. And my point is that you're the one laying down what the difference is, and it's kind of like, oh, well, is that transvestite person has been man or woman? Is this a psychological conversation or is this a philosophical? And who's saying that? Oh, it's Gary saying that. Who's reiterating what Gary said? And then who's got a different opinion about where that line's parsed? Now, personally, I think you could make a totality of your being, and that's what my video was, and I kind of wish you would respond to it, that at one point, seeing the color red and feeling pain are the same thing in a singular universe, a singular oneness. And if one can't get to a singular oneness about everything that is called the Gary or the Dospook or the X, Y, or Z, if they can't make singular their being and then work out and parse up the universe in a way that they see fit, I mean, who are you following to parse up the universe that way, right? You might call it nonsense, the same way that the insect having sentient being parsed up as a paradigm of the future maybe, or that plants feel is a line that we separate from. But I'm just saying, like, you're the one doing the parsing here. And a lot of people see it, a lot of people don't. And a lot of people don't even know this distinction that I'm making.
I know, but I'm still going to argue the same way. I'm going to say that there's a difference between us as individuals being rats and having to be in the maze, right? We got to spend most of our time in the maze. And then when we get philosophical, we climb up the wall and we sit on the fucking wall and we sit there and start getting philosophical and talking about what's going on in the game and what the game is worth and what's going on in this game and who should play this game. And that's a different conversation than the game we're playing when we're in the maze, when we're chasing our cheese. So yeah, you gotta parse it. If you're not willing to parse it, well then I can't really communicate, okay? Because I have to parse it, all right? Because if I see, it's just like the umpire. The umpire can't be married to one of the baseball players. You're replicating itself. We have been designed like a great white shark to play the fucking game. This is the ocean we swim in. Alright, yeah, it's a different world, and so we have different tools, but we're doing the same goddamn thing. We're chasing our damn cheese, and we're doing it at a preposterously high price, and we're doing it redundantly over and over and over and over and over and over and over again.
Are we now?
Okay. Well, as far as, kind of like the baseball player and the umpire can't be married immediately, I'm thinking of what does it mean to be a virtuous stock or day trader? And you can't be a trader on Wall Street and give anyone, insider trade. And I'm thinking, well, insider trading, but it's legally, legally it's harsh. You can't do that. But the majority of it is still that, and it's still, quote unquote, an intelligent process that the world uses every day in order to chase the cheese, and yet it's a violation. I mean, how, can the umpire be a cousin of the baseball player? Can they be a second cousin, a third cousin? How far back to this DNA molecule can the umpire be? And who's trying, well,
I was using it as a metaphor for bias. I mean, if you're not going to accept the fact that there's things that bias our judgment that we know about, and that we would avoid that, obviously the fucking umpire could be married to one of the players. And if he was disciplined enough, if he had character, it wouldn't matter, because he could still do his fucking job.
Maybe.
But the point is that's how difficult this job is. We know of this liability. We know of our nature to be prejudiced. Come on, it's fucking our nepotism, our nationalism, our groupism, our gangism. Look at it, fucking YouTube. It's littered with it. I mean, we're disgustingly glued to that bullshit. So let's not argue about the need to protect against bias.
Okay, look, I'm not gonna get back to the the pure state of oneness of the sensations, or of the difference between the umpire. Okay, there's bias. I'll grant bias, but what I'm saying is there's this inherited, almost like your point of view being the age that you are. You have a particular paradigm that's shaped like a particular cookie cutter that's got these biases, and it's razor sharp, and it's all and it demands you're holding down the damn cookie cutter, right? And other people have a different shaped cookie. Their biases are different. The way they look at it, the chasing the cheese might be something that they love because it's more in line with something that they had a childhood ideal to, where somebody else might be a fucking slave whipped into being part of a cookie cutter, right? It's like, to what extent do you want to say, this is the game and this is a love? This is something I would just move my natural being towards, and this is something that I don't want to do that to. Okay.
Back to my metaphor of tic-tac-toe. When you look at the game, now when you're playing it and you're ignorant of the futility, when you're a little kid, you can still play the game. So that's what I'm talking about here. Subjectively, we can play any game. We have proven that. We will play insidious games. We will get ourselves in wars, or we'll drop nuclear bombs, or we'll do all kinds of insidious, insane shit when we're in the game. Okay? When we're playing a game we don't know is stupid. Alright? And I'm just saying that the game is stupid. When you want to get philosophical about it and get honest about it, it's a stupid game. We're paying a preposterous price for it. We're totally getting ripped off. And the reason why it keeps happening is because people like you keep talking out of their ass defending a stupid replicating fucking piece of peanut butter.
Okay, look. You're gonna see, this is what cracks me up. Is that, well, I mean, what kind of game? My parents are like, Mike, you got to play the game. You got to play the game. And I'm like, what game? What are you talking about? You mean get married and get a job and do the? Is that what you mean? And then who's playing what game? Like, are you talking about the war game, the politic game, or is game equivalent to life? Because that's the thing. It's like, if you're going to say, okay, here's this arena called life, right? And inside of this arena, we play all these games. I accept that. But if you're going to say the game is life, then I'm going to go, no. Games are played within life. Life is not a game. And that's why I don't agree with life is an imposition. I say life is life, and that you guys can put whatever word, whatever syntax you want, whatever adjective you want, and say it's hell, it's suffering.
Hello. We got a dysfunctional rip-off machine. Here goes number 20.
Replication for the sake of replication. Let's build a totem pole to it. Blah, 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 blah. I see that as just religion. You might as well just say, God says it's good, so just pretend it's good.
Yeah, it's the opposite. God says it's bad, Buddha says it's suffering. So it's suffering.
Only mechanism controlling our fate is some stupid notion of natural competitive selection. That's all pretty goddamn stupid.
What mom?
Survival of the fittest. I really don't. I'm sorry. I don't know how to answer that.
If you're going to say the DNA molecule has thrown us into this state of competition, natural competition, in order to replicate itself, which I don't disagree with, how is the performance of one DNA molecule expressing itself manifest as one body, and another DNA molecule being the plants or the life around it, and a third one being another body that's competing with the first one? It's like, to what extent would you say it's competing or it's playing if both or all three of them get to reproduce? They get to, quote unquote, play the game of the reproduction, and that let's say they're the winning team, and the ones that don't do it are the losing team. But how do you bracket, right? Like this is what I mean by, to what extent are you going to say it's competition, and what extent are you going to say it's play? It's almost like you've inherited the word competition from Darwin. So therefore, you can never say the DNA are here to play, and like Voltaire saying, God has the biggest sense of humor, it's just people are too fucking afraid to know what the joke is.
Yeah, there I am, quoting him. And that was a direct quote.
An argument, joke part for me, it's not a fucking joke. know, so there's nothing to laugh. We watch nature squirt. Again, about plants or any of this other shit. It's about sentient organisms. The fact that they are designed to rip each other to pieces is obvious. And the fact that they do not reproduce on purpose is also not by any intent. We're the only ones that do it on purpose. None of these animals have my body turn into shit, squirt out one load, and drop the fuck dead. So my kids can eat me. So my little hatchlings can eat my decomposing flesh. I mean, what the fuck is that? What's the glory in that? Let's do it, and let's do it for 1,000,000 years. No, let's do it for 1 billion fucking years. Yeah, let's do it for 1 billion years. It'll be super. We can have a 1 billion...
Into clowns, I used to tell people, when I'm dead, dress me up like a clown, strip me naked, entirely humiliate me, and tie me to a rotating pole in town square and just spin it and play or whatever.
Run, try to piss on it, dude.
Mike's plan. If you're gonna go against the father, just humiliate it. I guess.
Form that's doing this for 1 billion years. Yeah, okay, we're doing it for 1 billion years. But here, okay, and it's happened already. And then the argument comes down to outlining suffering, right? You want to put an outline around suffering, kind of like I say red here and pain here, and you know I'm in a shitload of pain personally. But the whole thing is how is the squid dealing with suffering? And the dead squid, screw it, whether or not its family eats it or not. I mean, I even thought, why not become, the cannibalistic tribes? Based on your influence, I actually thought, God, it'd be great if I was part of a cannibalistic tribe, because the idea of consuming the dead that I'm close to actually seems like an honorable process, right? And
well, Brian, no, but it would be better if they just ate the food that you ate instead. They'd get more out of it. It's the whole animal protein problem. But look, I was using it as a metaphor, just that there's a certain indignity, okay? I was trying to describe an indignity, not necessarily a horror, but just something that's emotionally, so yeah, it was a little bit of poetry I was using there. It obviously means, it's obviously very productive for the dead to be eaten by the young. It just makes perfectly good sense, so I would agree. If we could make green potato chips, if we could do the Soylent Green thing, I'd be all for it. Yeah, just stir me up some dead people, make it taste like potato chips, and I'm going to eat them, So I got no problem with that, okay? So we agree. I was just using it because it's just an indignity, okay? It's indignity. It's like the insult at the universe knows what it's doing somehow, that somehow it's fallen on something that's actually a good idea. I'm saying it's a stupid quirk of fucking nature. It's like a forest fire, okay? The fact that it can happen doesn't mean it should happen. Okay, the fact that you can catch life on fire on planet Earth, right? You can start the little life spark with one piece of DNA. One single fucking DNA molecule. And you started this fucking fire. And I'm just saying, let's put the fire out. It's stupid. The fire is accomplishing nothing good. And it's making all these little things that go ouch. It's making them all go ouch. And ouch is a bad thing.
Like fire. Well, fire.
but it's to me, and that shrub endures a winter, and it endures some of its leaves falling off, like the majority of it, and then it keeps growing bigger and bigger, and it keeps
Baby. I got a little bit of baby.
Because there was a song called "Didn't Start the Fire" instead of "We Didn't Start the Bush."
Fire is a bizarre chemical reaction, okay? That's all. I was just using this. Fire is an interesting chemical reaction. Let's call it that. Life is an...
Angela. Doodle-a-doodle-a-doodle-a-doo. Doodle-a-doodle-a-doo.
Interesting chemical reaction. So
Shit, oh man. Totally missed that line. Time just flies on by. Flies on by. Just keeps on flying. Flying on by.
It's a sun coming over the edge, you know. But then we get into the Professor Anton, you have to have a consciousness in order to make the distinction between life and death. And so there's always a third party that's where they're looking at the fire. And calling it a sunrise coming over the horizon. That's the difference between the man that sees the dark world, and then I say that's the psychological argument that Gary has, that he's calling truth, because his metaphors and connotations, it's suffering, it's not endurance, right? It is that.
Arguing as if one led to the other. I'm going to argue that the other led to this. Okay, I wasn't looking. Okay, I wanted a good answer to a goddamn be done. Life is a journey, not a destination, Junior. Just eat your turn and shut up. I mean, come on, it's bullshit answers, and you're just doing, like I said, we're always going to go back to square one. You're saying there's something in the origin that legitimizes this. I'm saying if you look at it for what it is, a chemical phenomenon, and judge the chemical phenomenon, there's nothing about this chemical phenomenon to sit there and glorify or sanctify or beautify or do any of this crap to. We know the word beauty itself is just subjective crap anyway. I mean, we could think it is beautiful. We just bend a few neurons and all of a sudden you think a pile of vomit is the most beautiful thing in the world.
Well, it is kind of. I mean, like, fuck, man. I'm sorry that you didn't get the answers from your parents that ultimately led to your perception of things being happier. I'm sorry you don't enjoy a good vomiting.
I'm sorry that there's no, we did the physics and there's no God in the whole line collider. Yeah, okay, fine. You're going to keep...
your existence, to me, you're making a psychological comment because obviously you're not including me. Why the fuck aren't you including me, Gary? Include me. Please include me. Because apparently,
some sort of the stupid fat morons in the stands at the Cubs game going, look at that beautiful home run.
You're the asshole
you will sum my world up, my perception up to that, and then you'll say that I'm evaluating it in terms of beauty, when in fact what I'm doing is I'm trying to, and all I do with Trick in these comments is say, look, you guys are putting an ethic value, your value equation, onto everything, and I'm not saying I'm seeing beauty, but I'm not saying I'm seeing shit. I'm saying I'm not seeing a value, right? And so you guys keep saying there's value and it's shit. I'm trying to yank that off and say there's not intrinsic value. If you're going to lay value, then you're religious. That's hierarchical.
You've seen the videos. I've made the argument. I mean, I can't argue it any clearer. Okay, if you don't accept the idea that consciousnesses have positive and negative states of being, they're either comfortable or uncomfortable, then yeah, there's no conversation to have, and that those states of being are decidedly different. One is good and one is bad. One is negative and one is positive. If you're not going to accept that basic math, then yeah, we're fucked. We can't have a conversation because you have broken the foundation of everything I see. The prism I see the world through is built out of that assumption that negative feelings are bad and positive feelings are good.
Okay, well, I mean, we do ultimately, fundamentally disagree, and I disagree because at that point, my little narrative for this is I broke the shit out of my body. I'm in chronic pain all the time. This notion that there is a normal baseline of experience, people starving live
Start spreading this word.
months and years in a multiplication, that the inverse is an application of value, and it's an inherited ethic, and it's almost like if you guys are going to keep bonding to this inherited ethical structure about what should be and about what is, in terms like, okay, pain can be bad. Like I tell Trick, I say, if pain is going to land somewhere, most of the time it lands to bad. So I can play your value game. But you can't seem to settle what that is. You don't have to have the word bad in your mind. You don't even have to be pointing it back to itself any more than I need or anyone else can say that it's good. There doesn't have to be a value application added to one's presence all the time, and I'll argue that you don't do that. The majority of your conversation is not about what sucks or what's great. You're describing stuff. You've already painted this medium of difference through other adjectives.
Oh.
Get it?
No, of course I don't get it. I reject it. but it doesn't even matter what the steady state is, okay? Whether somebody has habituated to a circumstance is kind of irrelevant, because we know they still have good and bad days. They still have better or worse. And I could argue that the worse, okay, by even a universal standard, it's a really bad day, okay, universusly, when your arm gets cut off. So we could have universals, so we could say no matter where you live, no matter how bad your life is, you know, if your arm gets cut off today, it's going to suck. Okay, it's going to be a negative fucking number. All right, it ain't going to be a positive, it ain't going to be a good, it ain't going to be fun, it ain't going to be any of that shit. It's going to suck. All right, and that's going to be universal no matter what your steady state is. So I'm still going to argue that the game here is this huge amount of failure. I'm still going to argue that it's synthetic cheese that you're chasing. The satisfactions are frivolous and shallow and made out of perceptual crap, of a notion.
They tell me no!
Value, just like that when you
saw the world differently.
I'm not going to go into that crap. You're not going to self-justify anything that way.
You don't justify it the other way.
No, I'm sorry. You're the ones saying that having your arm cut off usually results in a good life. Alright, it's just a pile of shit. You know that's not the probabilistic outcome, you dumb fucking cunt, in the first place. And in the first place, I'm talking about the experience in and of itself. I used the word the day, right? I didn't talk about the week or the month or the year. I talked about the day. Fuck you and that crap.
Okay, so, yeah, I mean, he's bringing up a consequential ethic like that fucking hiker that got in the rock, got his arm cut off, and it got tore off. Consequently, his life's fucking shitload better. The guy's really rich now. He got his arm tore off. And the day that he was doing it, now this is my argument, and this is why early on in my relationship with you, Gary, our little love story together, and the reason I continue to argue the point that the points that I make is because I disagree, and I disagree because, and I call this the Satori state, or the nirvanic state, or the release between binaries, where one is in such a situation that is unfamiliar to their natural state that they surpass the value. And the reason I argue with you is because the day that I crushed both my feet, the remainder of the day, if you will, I went to the hospital, and I didn't cry, I wasn't wigging out, I had just busted my feet and my spine, and the doctor said he must be on something. He must be on some sort of, a narcotic, a heavy narcotic, because he's not responding to the pain. Like, he's not reacting as if what's gone on is this tragedy. I was completely, I was as solid to you right now as I was throughout the whole momentum of that slaughter to my very body. And then I think, if at this point I am somebody that has some different genomic DNA that allows me to be in that particular state, where that is not.
Singularity of the soul. All is in.
Bad. It is not different sensation. It was a different day. But all I knew was one day of slaughter was fine, and another day of slaughter was
between those things, okay? I mean, I punched out a fucking glass window once, and yeah, I didn't feel a thing until about 6 hours later, okay? And then I realized my hand was all cut to fucking shit. But anyway, that's a whole different. All right, I'm not discounting. It's okay. These are really big experiences in life. I don't want to diminish it or say it ain't worth anything or doesn't mean anything. I'm just saying, obviously you run in pain, so that's great. Fantastic. I'm glad you went through the first day without it. But I'm just saying, we do know that people do go through pain, okay? I mean, I saw Joe Theismann get his leg busted by Lawrence Taylor, and guess what? And scream like that, too. I mean, Lawrence Taylor almost was crying because he couldn't stand listening to Joe Theismann cry.